Are you struggling for confidence after perhaps a bit of a setback in life? Well, today I'm going to go through some strategies that can really help you when your confidence has been knocked. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra special point for you then as well. Now, I've had this many times in my life. I'm a human being. We're all human beings, of course, unless you're obviously an animal watching this right now, or a robot or whatever. Anyway, going off point. Now, I've had things like sport when I've been like I play football or soccer if you're in the US a lot, and I love it. And I've had like I used to be really, really attached to it. I loved it. I was never like professional or anything like that, far from it. But I used to really, really enjoy it and really want to do well in it. And when I'd have bad games or setbacks, I'd really be low on confidence. And what is confidence? Confidence, as I always define it, is the trust you've got in yourself, your belief in something. And I always say confidence is specific to whatever you're talking about. So I've had confidence when it's really, really, well, my confidence being very destroyed in that area. Another area, I've lost a job before, being made redundant. I've failed to get a job several times, like in job interviews. And when those things happen, it can really knock your confidence as well. And it's like, do I really have the skills to get a good job? And then it actually starts linking to self-esteem, which is how much you like yourself. Am I really a worthy human being? And when we don't have confidence in something, if we haven't got a good, if we don't have, it can knock on our self-esteem, which is how much you like yourself. And that certainly happened to me when I certainly didn't work on my self-esteem like I do now. It's happened to me. I've had setbacks and things like dating, and it'd be like really doubting my ability to actually interact with girls. And yeah, and then that can also link, of course, back to your self-esteem. Any of these can, if you've not worked on your self-esteem. So what I really want to touch on today is just some ways I found useful to move through challenges when perhaps my confidence had been knocked because of a result from just not feeling as a result from something going wrong, which can always happen. We can't expect life to go right all the time or the way we want it. So it's about how we control our internal state. And like I say, confidence for me is about trust in yourself, and it can really knock your trust when in yourself if you don't work on that relationship with yourself constantly. And when it gets harder, you start to question, can I really do this? Can I really do this? Now, ask yourself, how is it helping you every time you get a knockback that perhaps you don't have the right tools or process in place to really build your confidence up? Because if you're anything like me, it costs me a lot, and I'd be down for quite a few days sometimes. Even just after football, I'd be really down on myself. Oh, what's the point? Well, I'd go out and play again, but it'd be like almost thinking, what's the point? I'm not great at this. And it'd be hard to build my confidence back. And sometimes things just need to go my way, but there's a better way to do it, a better way to work on your internal state to therefore build confidence back up when it's been knocked down. So let's go into a few of these. The first thing I'm going to say is what I always say. And I'm going to repeat it again and again because sometimes we need to hear things multiple times before we act on it. And that is, ask yourself, what do you want? Right? What is it you want? When things can go negative, we can start focusing on what we don't want, the fears, what could go wrong, worst case scenario. Now, it is good in some cases, obviously, and I've got a project and change management background, so I'm very much used to planning for, risks and things like that. But sometimes when you look so much on like what you don't want and what could possibly go wrong all the time, it really changes how you feel about life and your trust in yourself and your confidence within yourself. So therefore, it's really key to obviously, plan for not everything, but, have plans sometimes in case of the worst case scenario, have some kind of financial plan in case things don't go to plan. And things like that. But actually focus on what you want. Focusing on what you want is going to change how you feel. And when you focus on what you want, you stop focusing as much on the negative stuff. So write down on a piece of paper, what is it you want? So maybe there's a certain sport you play. Maybe it is football and you want to play for a certain team, and you've got a target for that, or you want to get player of the season, whatever it is, which is not necessarily always in your control, apart from you can control your training and everything like that. And that's your goal, and you write it down, you get focused on it, because that's going to send you some kind of direction and understand, even though maybe there's challenges right now, that's what you want. So that's key, to just keep focusing on that. Maybe you want to you're a musician and you want to play somewhere, you want to get into some certain choir or something. I'm really limited on my music knowledge and ability, to be honest. And yeah, my confidence would be low in playing an instrument, and I'm okay. And you can't have confidence in everything because you don't have time to focus on everything. So that's just my example of music. The next step I want to give you is have someone to talk to. Like I've had to learn this in the last year. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Sometimes I've got in a bit of a habit of just trying to focus on things myself. It's like, I'm the guy, who's talking about self-esteem and confidence. Sometimes I get a little bit into that achiever mode. Like, I'm going to work on this, this, and this. And actually not acknowledging that, I need to take a step back and ask someone else for their guidance, their advice. And it's really important to ask the right people, I'd add as well. Sometimes if you talk to someone and they give you the wrong advice, it's more damaging. So always question and I was given this bit of advice on what advice is from a self-mastery expert. So it was advice. Advice is only advice if the person has walked what they're talking about and they're further ahead in the journey than you, even if it's just a little bit. So that is advice from Peter Sage, because he's a self-mastery expert. But lots of people like to give their opinions, so don't get that mixed up with advice. So find someone who can give you good advice, or they're a good listener. Maybe they're not an expert in an area, but they're not going to give you like, do this, this, and this. I know a couple of people, even close to me, who are like brilliant, amazing, well-intentioned people, yet they will try and give their opinion, and it's not advice because they're not necessarily an expert in it, and they're just coming from their model of the world. Love them for that, but don't necessarily take on board what they say, unless they've got experience in an area. Otherwise, they might be able to give you just an ear to talk to. Is that even an expression, like an ear to talk to? Or someone just to talk to, right? So have someone to talk to, because that's really going to allow you to talk through some of your challenges. Maybe you've had that setback. How can you get back up? Like all human beings go through setbacks. Like if they're further ahead on a journey, they might be able to talk to you about how they've overcome things. Just don't keep it in your head and to yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. Because the mental talk, if you don't train yourself, can get worse and worse and worse. The third thing is just do small habits. I have had a terrible tendency to try and do too much when I'm in a bad or not such a good place. And that's not going to be good for your, it wasn't good for my mental health, certainly. It just caused more stress. So sometimes you just got to understand that if you've had a knock in confidence, you're not feeling as good, that there's a level of consistency to keep doing things. Yeah, sometimes you just need to reduce things. So for example, if you're in a high flow state, you feel amazing, you go to the gym 3 times a week and you're training for like 1 to 2 hours. And that's one of your like goals, but like something else happens in an area that knocks in an area of your life that knocks your confidence. And then you don't have the energy to do 1 to 2 hours. Well, maybe just go to the gym for 20 minutes 3 times a week, right? So just keep smaller habits consistent, because what that does is every time you do it, it just says, right, I'm showing up for myself, but I'm also having that compassionate love for myself that I'm not in the best place. Now, there may be a place where perhaps something really traumatic happened to your life and you can't really do anything, barely anything. And again, that's okay. Be honest with yourself, right? Sometimes you've got to be a bit compassionate with yourself. But if something just bad, you get, a little bit of bad news and it's impacting how you're feeling, or something doesn't go your way, maybe you've had a breakup or something like that, or then sometimes just taking small bits of actions can be effective. When I've lost like a job, like the things I was doing normally, I didn't have the full energy and feeling good because I had it can be quite a traumatic experience. But sometimes what I needed to do was just stick small little habits in every day, maybe 5 minutes of meditation to the 20. So that'd be my third step. The fourth thing is write down for 5 minutes non-stop on a piece of paper and read it to yourself for a week when you finish this, all the things you've overcome, as many as you can think of. It may have been something like passing your driving test. It may have been passing an exam in school. It may have been a challenging situation in your career or your business, depending on which one you're focused on. It may be you overcame like a breakup or you're rejected by someone. Because what this is all doing is teaching your brain, reminding yourself, because the brain can be very negative biased, especially in this, unfortunately, in quite a lot of the world, there's a lot of focus on fears and negativity. Things like the media doesn't help necessarily. But the brain will go into that negative thinking. When you can remind it of all the greatness you've got inside of you, then it's going to train it to think in a different way. So for 5 minutes a day, not 5 minutes, well, for 5 minutes, first of all, do this exercise. Obviously, if you're listening now, do it later. If you're on the move, write down as many things you've overcome. Don't let your pen come off the paper or pencil, whatever you've got. And just remind yourself of all the great things you've overcome, no matter how small you think they are, right? And do that for 5 minutes. And then for a week, just read it every day and read it out loud, not just in your head, read it out loud, because you double acknowledge it when you're saying it out loud, and it goes back into your mind as well. You're actually hearing yourself say it as well. So those are my tips that I really want to share when you've had a setback in confidence with you today. Now, I've got a final point for you. And just before I get on to that, I want to appreciate you for listening today. And if you want to hang out with me for more inspiration, you can come and find me on Instagram. My handle is @Johnny.Pardo. I'll link that below as well. So my final point and tip I want to give you today really is success stories from other people. There are some remarkable human beings and inspiration on this planet. And generally, I believe most human beings have got an incredible amount of greatness in them. Yet we don't always get to it because there's so much limiting beliefs and fears put into us. Now, there are some people who have really had it life against them, but they see life as for them, and that's how they've really progressed. A high level of consciousness, that would be like people who have, had serious car accidents, serious trauma, attacks to them, various things. Maybe they lost an arm, maybe they didn't have an arm, maybe they didn't have legs, these kind of things. Like, there are some inspirational stories out there of people who have had it really hard against them, yet they've achieved things that you think, wow, what an inspiration. And what I'm going to say with this tip is find an example of someone. Find an example of someone out there and actually start reading what they've overcome, some of their setbacks they've overcome, because what that's doing is showing there is such possibility for you. Like, despite the odds, they've overcome it. Like, examples of people like Oprah Winfrey. She had some extremely traumatic events in her early life, yet she's one of the most inspiring people on the planet. Tony Robbins, he shared some of his past family challenges, like when he was younger, some quite, being attacked and all sorts of things. Yet he's the #1 success coach on the planet, arguably. So these people can do it. So look at them for possibility. Don't compare yourself, because what that allows you to see is actually there is possibility as well for you, because you have greatness inside of you. And if there's been a setback, just look out there, look at yourself, like I was saying earlier, for inspiration of things you've overcome, and look at other people for what they've done despite the odds. And don't look at it like, oh, they've done this and this, that kind of person. Look at it like, wow, look at their challenges and they could overcome it. I can overcome it as well. So that's my final point for you as well, when you've had a setback and it's really not your confidence. And the other thing I meant to add as well is, of course, praise yourself. I always say this, Praise yourself. Even if you're in a hard time, you're taking the smallest actions. I've been drained mentally, going through things in the past like dating challenges, job rejections, people not saying nice things to me. And it was really hard with my emotions. And I was really doing the smallest amount. And I wouldn't necessarily acknowledge them when I wasn't in this whole personal growth, self-esteem and confidence space. When I've been in harder times, when I just like patted myself on the back and said, well done, that has really helped my confidence because I've acknowledged it and you're in control of giving yourself that praise. So that's what I've got for you today, how to overcome setbacks in confidence and how you can pick yourself up. So once again, I appreciate you for being here. And if you want to hang out with me even more for inspiration, come and find me on Instagram. My handle is @Johnny.Pardo. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people's lives by being the best you. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.